So no pressure after a performance like that. Even I was impressed with us, with what we're doing. I said, are we really doing that? So I was asked to unpack the UL Practicum. And this is a simple diagram of a UL Practicum at a glance. So essentially, if we go through the diagram that you can see there, there are lots of engaged modules, but what distinguishes the University of Limerick Practicum is its community-centric design. So it's the co-designed element with the community partners. If you remember Maura, when she was speaking yesterday about her English language teachers working with refugees and asylum seekers, and it was the needs analysis that they did, that they asked them, what is the language need that you have? It's that element of co-design which is central to a UL Practicum, which elevates it simply from going out and giving service to actually collaborating with your partner about what is it that we want. And some people get a bit kind of anxious about this, thinking, oh my goodness, we have to do everything together, or if it's not co-designed from the very, very start to the very, very end, then it's not valid. And often is the case, communities know exactly what they want, and that's where we come to the second core principle, which is that you would have a clear role and responsibility. So sometimes our community partners have a need. They see a university with specialists there, and they say, can you sort this out, or can you give us a hand? And that doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be in on every single step, because that's where they're coming to a university. But what's really important is that everybody knows what it is they are doing, what it is they're putting in, and what it is they're getting out. So our partnerships only work when we have a clear understanding of how they work, who is responsible for what, and what everybody will get at the end. So that's a core principle of the Practicum, that we all know what we're signing up for and what we're getting out of it. And that obviously leads, if you know what you're signing up for, to the principle that there would be clear deliverables. And those deliverables come, of course, to the students. So Kate has mentioned development of student attributes. And in the panel yesterday, we were talking about the different kinds of attributes, those soft skills, the teamwork, and so on. But they also, of course, extend to what our community partners want. So the idea that we were collaborating, and we'll give you a copy of our conference paper, is not really collaboration. You actually have to work with your partner, because sometimes the work that you're doing needs to be differentiated. It maybe needs to be presented differently. There's a lovely example. I always come back to this example because it just tickles me so much. A biologist in Trinity College Dublin looking at pollination of bees, and ended up producing a musical for children in schools, Bees the Musical, to explain the pollination process. Now, perhaps the biologist at TCD didn't think that she'd be involved in musical production, no more than I thought I'd be involved in theatre production with some of my work. But sometimes to get a message to a community, you have to think a little bit more than your traditional academic output. But of course, you have to have an academic output as well, and that would be one of our other clear deliverables, that we are academics, we do work in a university, and we're not a replacement for charitable or NGO organisations, because they already work effectively themselves. So for us, the value added is that we can amend our academic work, we can somehow transpose our academic work. So we have a mechanism here with the UL Practicum that any module you have in the university, you can deliver it as a practicum, and that's a mechanism that we have with our student administration, that if, for example, Mairead yesterday is teaching English language, she used to teach that in the classroom, and now she delivers it to refugees and asylum seekers, she can simply flip that teaching and it becomes a UL practicum, and it's acknowledged in the system. There's a small budget for the teas and coffees, and the system is able, she's not creating a new module. She's simply delivering her academic content in a different way, or in a more applied way. So those are the deliverables. And of course, the very last thing that is a core principle of any UL Practicum is that there is an evaluation. Because we are proud of this collaborative endeavour, but we really can't be crowing about it unless we're sure that there's something to be proud of. And the only way we'll ever know is if we ask our partners, and was it good for you? Did that work out? Is there something we could do better? Could we learn something? How will we move on together? And that's where, again, go back to Mairead in her talk yesterday, about it actually, we're all learning. The idea that we are giving service, I think, is a slightly passé notion, because those of us that engage in this kind of activity recognise that we're learning new tricks all the time when we collaborate with our partners. So those are the three core principles. A UL practicum really isn't that complicated at all. If you see how those are operated, you have your students in the middle, whether they're undergraduates or whether they're postgraduates, and you saw lots of the projects yesterday. You have a faculty member or a group of faculty members. They supervise the students, they work with the students, and the students work with the community. So depending on what the community needs are, there's a contact in the community, and that's a practicum. It's really that simple. So if we kind of see, how do you set one of those up, which was one of the questions yesterday. If this is what we're setting up, I'll give you a few sort of examples. So yesterday, we were looking at Maura Adshead, in case you've forgotten who she is. Do you remember the woman? Who is teaching English language as a second language in the MA program. And this actually is a photograph from yesterday, because in the afternoon when you were visiting the projects, the refugees and asylum seekers who had taken the English language courses had their graduation program. So that was where I was yesterday afternoon when you were on the bus. So this is Maura with her graduates from the Asylum Centre. And that's one practicum. You can very easily see a practicum working there between a member of staff in languages and a community who have a need. I didn't know she was going to be here watching, but here's Sarah Moore. You didn't know you were going to pop up either. So Sarah Moore, for example, is a creative writer, an author in her own right, 4 books now, and is working on the MA Creative Writing program. This is, I mean, there are numerous partners that Sarah's working with, Narrative 4 and in the Granary, the writers, but this was just a quick picture for you to get the gist. There's the Limerick Writers Centre. Sarah has projects with her community, and her MA students are involved. It's not a hard sort of notion. There's me. You saw me yesterday, and you met my collaborative partner from Limerick Youth Services, and here's some of the crew at Limerick Youth Services. We work together. So you can see how practicums work with a member of staff, with a community partner, and with an identified need. But one of the things, the issues here is, well, how do you scale that up? Because in lots of these projects, you have an academic staff member with maybe a pet interest, and they're maybe working with a small group of students. And obviously, this kind of work, it's not the kind of thing you do with 200 students, yeah? So how do you scale it up? If you take those 3 practicum projects that I've just explained to you, now we're going to go meta. So we have, in the university, an association with Limerick City and County Council, and they are very, very invested in growing Limerick as a learning region, as a learning city. They want to enhance the idea of Limerick's learning city. They want to revitalise the city. They want to get more visitors. We have lots of visitors coming through the university all of the time. So what we have now is we have a Limerick Inside Out project where students visiting the university, as well as our own students here, will be in larger numbers and will visit each of the 3 practicum projects I've explained to you. So we have a module, Limerick Inside Out, in collaboration with the City and County Council, where our international visitors and our own domestic students visit Limerick. We have a joint welcome between the council and ourselves. We have a treasure hunt that runs through the city, which is designed with our collaborative partners, all of our partners in the city, and with Limerick City businesses, which puts university traffic through the city and grows the region. And then we also visit our projects. So for the semester, we'll have maybe 3 weeks looking at working with the writers in the community, how we understand Limerick. We'll have 3 weeks looking with my community projects, with Limerick Youth Services, and also some of the other projects I'm working with in the city, and also with Maura Adshead. And you might think, oh, well, that's just tourism. They're not really doing projects, not like the first practicums. But if you begin to mainframe this, I work with my communities. I have an ongoing relationship with youth services, but sometimes we want to host an event which we just haven't got the manpower, the staff power, the women power. We haven't got the resources for. If every year we know we have a module and we know that we have a group of visiting students who will be available for 3 or 4 weeks to visit us, then we can arrange an activity. So, for example, perfect example, yesterday Maura had arranged a graduation ceremony for her refugees and asylum seekers. If she could rely that she would have every semester 30 students coming in, think of the wonderful jamboree that they could have arranged. They could have taken responsibility for arranging that project. They could have worked with the refugees and asylum seekers, and instead of a small little graduation ceremony, we could have had a big bash and a wonderful party, which would, of course, deliver the objectives of interculturalism, learning, teamwork, and so on, but would also deliver an insight into how we work collaboratively. And it's the same with the community groups I work with. If we want to plan, for example, a Christmas market with the communities, well, we can rely that we're going to have a group of students coming in each year, and they'll be there to help us do those sorts of things. There's a Limerick Writers' Festival, always short of supports. So by mainstreaming this, if you like, by having students layered onto other Practicum projects, we begin to amplify the projects that we have. We demonstrate the collaboration that we have, and we create those kinds of networks. So what we're about here is creating the infrastructure for engagement, because now I am aware of the other collaborative projects. I know that there's a writers' collaborative project, and I, of course, am based in politics, and perhaps I wouldn't be as aware of the kind of cultural events. So now I know that my groups can go and they can participate with the other groups. We're building that knowledge and that network on the ground where we create more and more links, networks, and collaborative engagement. And this template here is between faculty in arts, humanities, and social science. But we have another similar template with a much broader sort of view at the university. So we have faculty from arts, humanities, and social science, from health sciences, from the medical, graduate entry medical school. This is education, health sciences, and also our counselling services. They are helping to deliver a program to 5 local communities. It's a diploma program, co-created by my colleague Bernie. So CWEL, the CWEL program, which is Community, Wellness, Empowerment, Leadership, and Life Skills. It does exactly what it says on the tin. This program was co-created with the community who said they were fed up of people from the university coming in, giving a talk, and going out again. And actually what they really needed was a longer-term sustainable program. And that's what the CWEL program meant. And it's a long-term sustainable program. It's a diploma program that works with local communities. But it's not sustainable on its own. But it is sustainable if it works as a site for UL Practicum students. It is, I mean, it's a wonderful site. It's a wonderful place where UL Practicum students can learn. So each year, international students visit the CWEL sites, and part of the CWEL program now incorporates UL Practicum students, that they sit in on the modules that the CWEL students take. They act as co-learners, as teaching support, as support for projects and activities. So as the CWEL diploma students are doing community development and community activities, they are supported and engaged with our students who are learning more about development and so on. And then, if we think of the Limerick Inside Out, we have another layer that we can add, where if our CWEL students and our Practicum students want to have a Christmas market, we now know that in October we'll have 30 students, and if we plan for a Christmas market, we've got the people to run it. So again, what you see is building all of these together, we're building the infrastructure for engagement. And once we have the infrastructure, then the work just mushrooms. You know, one of the questions yesterday is how do you find projects? Once you find a project and it works, you'll never be short of another project again. They just move out. But I suppose underpinning all of these is that relationship building. So there really is nothing complicated about a UL Practicum, and there's nothing complicated about community engagement. What there is long-term, hard work, rewarding work, and sustainable work with the relationships, with the people, with the bundles, so that you have trust, so that we can all co-create a much, much bigger impact for all of our activities. So that's it. That's all there is to it.